We were not only stricken by poverty, but also ravaged by war. The entire nation lay in ruins, its people uncertain if they would ever rise again. But rise we did. First of all, I firmly believe that the bold investment in public education by the national leader of the time, President Lee Seung-man, was a driving force behind the South Korea's development. This raises the concern that we may have opened the Pandora's box. Around last fall, I opened one of these Pandora's boxes. There was a fear, there was uncertainty, but I held on to one simple belief. Every unexplored future comes with its fears. But that's exactly where the possibilities lie. So I decided, let's take the leap. Let's fix the things as we go, adapt as we move forward, and upgrade as we learn.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and all distinguished guests. Welcome to the 2024 Global Public HR Conference. My name is Sarah Ri. I'm Lee Se-ra, your MC for today. This is my great pleasure and honor to be an MC of this meaningful event. This conference will be proceed under the theme of leadership in the AI era. Competences and required for public sector leaders. I'd like to extend my sincere gratitude to all of you who are joining us today despite your busy schedules, especially to our distinguished guests from abroad who travel all the way from your country to be here with us today. Now, we will begin the opening ceremony of the 2024 Global Public HR Conference hosted by the National Human Resources Development Institute, NHI. First, I'd like to invite Kim Chae-hwan, President of NHI, for a welcoming remarks. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
Good afternoon. I would like to begin by thanking everyone, all of you, taking time out of your busy schedule to participate in the 2024 Global Public HR Conference. I would like to extend my deep gratitude to the distinguished scholars and experts from home and abroad, including our keynote speaker, Mr. Ben Nelson, as well as the speakers and moderators of each session. My sincere appreciation also goes to the representatives of related overseas organizations, the representatives of the Malaysian Alumni Association, the foreign government officials currently undergoing training in Korea, and all of my colleagues working in both governments and public institutions. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we are living in a world that's changing at a pace like never before. It seems that every morning we are greeted with the headlines announcing the latest breakthrough or technological marvel. Innovations that would have once seemed like science fiction are now part of our everyday lives. It's almost as if a single day today moves at lightning speed so fast that what we experience in just 24 hours would have taken our ancestors decades, even centuries, to witness. The speed of change is breathtaking. Think about how far we've come from the moment we discovered fire and invented the wheel to the sweeping changes brought by the first, second, and third industrial revolutions. Humanity has always celebrated its progress with pride. Each step forward wasn't just a leap in technology. It was a leap in what it means to be human. Now, Imagine living in those early days when survival meant spending your entire day searching for food. Compare that to today, where we live in an era of abundance, where science and innovation have transformed not only how we live, but how we think, how we dream. Aren't we fortunate? We weren't born into a world where survival is our only goal. We were born into a time where the real challenge is pushing the boundaries of what's possible and creating the future we want to see. But now we find ourselves standing at the dawn of a new era, the fourth industrial revolution, driven by artificial intelligence. Unlike the revolutions before, this one brings a unique challenge. For the first time, we ask, is this the right direction for science? Is this truly progress? As many scholars have warned, there is a growing sense of unease about the era of AI that is rapidly approaching. One day we suddenly find ourselves talking to smart machines. AI is writing our reports, composing songs, creating novels and poems, and even painting pictures. It can even write speeches for us. But this speech was not helped by ChatGPT. I promise. AI has now entered the realm of art, the area we believed to belong exclusively to human beings. In the past, all the technologies developed by humanity aimed at the surface our physical capabilities, and thanks to these innovations, our lives have become much richer than before. However, the advancement of AI is different because it has the potential to replace and even surpass human intellectual abilities. This raises the concern that we may have opened the Pandora's box. Around last fall, I opened one of these Pandora's boxes. There was a fear. There was uncertainty, but I held on to one simple belief. Every unexplored future comes with its fears. But that's exactly where the possibilities lie. So I decided, let's take the leap. Let's fix the things as we go, adapt as we move forward, and upgrade as we learn. And what better way to do that than to be among the first to harness the incredible power of AI, starting with the ChatGPT's premium version in training public servants. I set the goals and direction. A team of PhD-level researchers from KAIST and the professors at the National Human Resources Development Institute worked closely together on this subject. The result is this book. A guide to using AI for policy work. This guidebook includes 4 key elements. First, we have standardized the flow of each stage of policy planning. Secondly, we have provided case-based explanations on which prompts to use at each stage of policy development, how to input them, and which prompts to avoid. Thirdly, we have presented some policy planning reports as examples. Finally, recognizing the need for practice, we have included almost 300 practical exercises to help trainees apply and test what they have learned. As you may know, ChatGPT has the ability to learn from the data provided and integrate it into its database. This means we had to consider the risk that confidential information related to government affairs might enter the database, which could threaten national security. But the choice was clear. Do we stop before we even begin? Or do we move forward, correcting course as necessary? I chose the latter. I needed a justification for opening this Pandora's box, and here it is. The temptation of efficiency provided by AI is simply too great to ignore. Additionally, our government's policy direction is fully implement a digital transform government, so this was something we would inevitably need to pursue. Furthermore, with the recent establishment of the National AI Committee under the President, it turns out that the direction I initiated with this guidebook last year was ahead of the government's plans and has been validated later by this new body. I believe this guidebook for policy planning using ChatGPT might be the first of its kind in the world. This guidebook has been shared not only with key institutions in Korea, but also with foreign administrative bodies and public servant training institutions. All of you can also find this guidebook in the welcome kit you already have. While preparing for this conference, I realized that the theme of today's event, competencies required for public sector leaders, closely aligns with the mission of our National Human Resources Development Institute. Since the establishment in 1949, the mission of the National Human Resources Development Institute has always been aligned with the nation's vision of selecting, educating, and developing the best talents into leaders who can support and advance the national administration. As many of you know, our country, South Korea, was once among the poorest nations on earth with a per capita income of just $57. We were not only stricken by poverty, but also ravaged by war. In 1950, the Korean War swept through the land, reducing our cities to rubble, our hopes to whispers, and our future to a distant dream. The entire nation lay in ruins, its people uncertain if they would ever rise again. But rise we did. When the soldiers who had once fought in that war returned to South Korea decades later, they were left speechless. What they saw was beyond their imagination. They had left behind a broken, war-torn country, yet they returned to witness something extraordinary. They couldn't believe their eyes. The South Korea they knew was gone, replaced by a nation reborn from ashes. They called it a miracle because no other word could capture what they happened here. This is the story of South Korea, a nation that did the impossible. From devastation, we built one of the most dynamic economies in the world. Today, we stand among the top 10 global economies, pioneers of cutting-edge technology, from semiconductors to nuclear power. We have even surpassed Japan in both per capita income and the total export volume, achievements that once seemed unreachable. There may be various interpretations of how all of these were possible, but I would like to highlight two key factors that set our country apart from others. First of all, I firmly believe that the bold investment in public education by the national leader of the time, President Lee Seung-man, was a driving force behind the South Korea's development. After the Korean War, President Lee Seung-man invested more than 20% of the foreign aid received for national reconstruction into education. His governing philosophy was that fostering a literate and educated citizenry was essential for establishing democracy and eventually for achieving economic development and flourishing knowledge industries. Secondly, South Korea has been fully committed to selecting the best talents and educating them to become public officials who lead the national administration. The institution that has been the cradle for these national talents and that has been responsible for educating senior public officials for the past 75 years is our National Human Resources Development Institute. I'm so sorry for this long speech. But the ending message is around the corner. Please open your eyes. Don't sleep. When we invested in education, teaching our people, opening their minds and training the brightest to lead this nation, it wasn't about building grand structures or machines. It was an investment in something you couldn't see, couldn't touch. We were betting on the potential of our people, on the power of knowledge, and on the belief that education could lift the entire country out of despair. At times, it must have felt like we were pouring water into bottomless pit, slow, uncertain, and without immediate results. But what looked like a leap of faith turned into something extraordinary. That investment gave us miracles. Everything you see around you today, the towering buildings, the cutting-edge technology, our place on the global stage, all of it stands on the solid foundation, education. It's a quiet force that transformed South Korea, the hidden engine behind everything we've built. South Korea's economic success was no coincidence. It wasn't just the luck and fate. It was the result of hard work, determination, and sacrifice. The public officials of that time, now living their later years, gave everything they had for this country. Their efforts weren't just acts of duty. They were acts of courage. Their stories of dedication and sacrifice have become legends in our civil service, a legacy that we honor to this day. And it's a legacy we haven't just preserved but built upon. The National Human Resources Development Institute, which stands here today, has never been content to simply follow in the footsteps of the past. We have always pushed forward, driven by the same spirit of innovation that fueled those before us, determined to create a better future for our nation. I believe that today's conference, which you are attending, is part of our ongoing efforts toward innovation. Last year's conference focused on exploring the changes that digital technology, particularly AI innovation, would bring to talent development in the public sector and the new roles and directions that would follow. This year, our conference aims to delve deeper into understanding these environmental changes and discussing the competencies that leaders, especially those in the public sector, need to develop in order to respond effectively. If we cannot avoid the future, we must embrace it. The future does not belong to those who shy away in fear. It belongs to those who step forward with courage and vision. The future opens its doors to those who dare. Artificial intelligence is not a substitute for human intelligence. It is a tool to amplify human creativity and ingenuity. I have no doubt that everyone here today is not afraid of the future of AI. Why? Because you know that to move this nation forward, to build the foundations of tomorrow, we must face challenges head-on. We must challenge, adapt, and transform. This is how we will pave the way for our country's continued growth and success. At today's conference, we have the privilege of hearing from keynote speaker Ben Nelson, the founder of Minerva University, along with the experts representing the government, academia, and the private sector. I expect that they will share valuable insights on the competencies that public sector leaders must develop in the AI era. I hope this will be a meaningful and enriching experience for everyone. In closing, I would like to once again express my sincere gratitude to all of you. I hope that through this conference, those of you responsible for training talent in the public sector will become even greater innovators in developing outstanding public servants. I wish you all good health and happiness. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President Kim, for your kind remarks. Like he mentioned, without the potential in people and power of knowledge, Korea couldn't be at where we are at now globally. And we look forward to utilizing this power as the hidden engine through AI. Thank you once again for your insightful presentation and speech. Now, today, we are very honored to have all distinguished guests from home and abroad to discuss leadership in the AI era. And we would like to take a group photo for remembering and also celebrating your presence. All distinguished guests in the first row, can you please come up to the stage and take a group photo? Thank you very much for your cooperation. I'd like to invite all the distinguished guests onto the stage. Please come up to the stage. As we celebrate this special event to talk about 2024 Global Public HR Conference, we are very honored to have all of you. Thank you very much for taking your time. Please take one step forward and look at the photographer and show your big smile on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's give a fighting pose. Do you know the fighting pose? On the count of 3, you can rise your fists up. Okay, and then when I say 1, 2, 3, you will say fighting, which means let's go together. 1, 2, 3, fighting! Please give them a big round of applause to celebrate it. Thank you very much. Please go back to your seats. Thank you very much for your cooperation. Let's do the small heart once again.